with plenty of jobs. Doesn't he realize that all we have to do is talk to business owners who have had to cut back their staffs because of the gruesome impacts of Obamacare, and that America's standard of living is now lower than any time since the Korean War? I will tell you this, he probably thinks Americans are not too bright. After all, Obama, who disdains America, was elected twice. I'm Ron Edwards.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
When our water heater broke down last month, it was a nightmare. It took 5 hours for the plumber to show up, and he charged us a couple of $100 just to come out. And then it cost another $1,800 to put in the new water heater. By the time it was all said and done, I felt like I'd been taken. But what else could I do?
The smartest thing you can do is get a home warranty from American Residential Warranty. Their home warranties pay to repair or replace all your major appliances when they break, and they will break, and at the worst possible time. Call American Residential Warranty right now for free information on home warranties starting at just pennies a day. Don't wait for your refrigerator to stop running or your ceiling fans to stop turning. Call American Residential Warranty right now. Ask how you can save up to 50% on washer and dryer coverage. Just call 1-800-790-5960. That's 1-800-790-5960. Again, 1-800-790-5960. Call now.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosolive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosolive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, all you can do is just tell the truth and trust in the American people that over time they're going to know what the truth is.
Yes, it is time for the truth. Right here, right now. This is the Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives. With your host, John Matthews.
The latter-day prophet. Baying against the hypocrisies of our time.
And Joe Hakos.
You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
The Conservative Syndicate is comprised of some of the most informed pundits and activists available today. Together, we seek to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state through education, information, and engagement on the religion of politics and the politics of religion. And now, your host on the globally syndicated Conservative Syndicate, John Matthews and Joe Hakos.
And we're back, and this is hour 2 of the Conservative Syndicate, and we're glad you took the time to join us. Hey, I want to let you know, if you happen to have lost us there, I hope you took the time to get back online with us there. I have to take the blame for that. I'm just technically dyslexic today, and I had actually flipped my mic off by accident. So the only people that was hearing me was Joe.
I heard you.
And boy, it started flying into the chat rooms and everything else. Hey, where are you guys? Where are you guys? So we're back. My fault, my bad. No harm, no foul. We're back. All you missed was some piss jokes anyways. So it's
not catch it on the archive.
Yeah. Didn't want to rain on your parade, but
that's bad. That's a bad pun.
All right. Yeah, what Joe just sent me a graphic here as we were doing the commercials here. And apparently now they're taking it to the federal level, trying to remove signs on the bathrooms.
Yeah, it's crazy. We don't have, we are rich here in the United States. We got money coming in hand over fist. We don't have any debt or anything like that going on. But we're going to spend money. We're going to spend money removing the pronouns he and she from our labor regulations to avoid the gender binary. It must be a real problem, huh? It's just insane for me to think that we're going to spend up to $4 million updating posters and stuff like that, and going through our labor regulations to be able to do this. And according to the Labor Secretary, United States Secretary of Labor, Thomas E. Perez, he said our nation's workforce system should reflect our commitment to diversity. We're going down the drain, people. If that big, huge sucking sound, that's what's going on. That's Washington, D.C. trying to take us all down with them. That is amazing to me, John, that's going on. But it was this proposed rule to change, to take out he and she and gender classifications. We can't have that. The men's room shall be this, the women's room shall be this. Can't have that. And then he and she in our contracts, our labor laws, can't have that. But if you don't agree with them, it was released, today's Wednesday, so it was released yesterday, but it's still open for the public. And if you go to, hold on, let me see. If you go to federalregister.gov and look for the implementation of the non-discrimination and equal opportunity provisions of the workforce innovation.
This is bureaucracy. This is what is so just idiotic about government. As you're talking about these signs, I was thinking here in Norwalk, and I've seen it in other places down the street, Anaheim, Garden Grove, some of the other cities out there. The big drought that we have here in California.
Yes.
And what we're seeing now is these professionally produced signs all over the streets telling us that they're not watering the grass. So I'm thinking, how much money are these people spending on printed signs? I mean, professionally, with the graphics and everything, know, and they're helping to conserve water. And Norwalk, the city I live in, is pretty big. Not like L.A. L.A. is like over 3 million people, 30 million people. I'm sorry, something like 3 million, 30 million, something like that. And it had to be 3 million. We got 30 million in the state, 3 million in L.A. We got about 350,000 here in Norwalk, and they've got these signs all over in the nice, the grassy knolls that they build. They spend so much money putting out trees and everything on the grassy knolls, dividing the streets and everything else. They're tearing down all the landscaping. We live right across the street from Cerritos Junior College out here. And they're tearing down all the shrubbery and everything to put trees in that they're not going to water. And they've got all these signs out there now telling us that they're not watering. Please excuse the appearance of the grass because we're not watering because we have a drought. This is government for you. You created the rules, these long lists of things that we can and cannot do now out here. You can't wash your driveway down with the hose. Your neighbor will report you. That kind of thing. If you water anything within 48 hours after we have a storm out here, which in California is anything from fog to a drizzle, is storm watch. So anything that dampens the ground, and if you're watering your grass after that, you can be fined for it. This is idiocy. And now we got We got to spend all this money to take down signs so that we can be gender diverse.
Yes, I mean, you can't have he and she. They must be replaced with individual or person or some other.
Yeah, well, I think they should put
that brings me a question, John. You were in the Navy, and you were you're around ships, and so obviously at times when you refer to your ship, you didn't refer to it by its name all the time. I'm sure there was a pronoun or something that you probably named it by. You went by. Was it it or?
Well, maybe what we should do with the restrooms, I can give you this.
Oh, okay.
Maybe we just need to label all restrooms as genderqueers. And that covers the whole spectrum, because that's what genderqueers are now.
Look like, John.
Genderqueers are anything they want to be or not be. You just put it, so for lack of my imagination here, so if you walked up to a sign and just shot it with a paintball pellet, a big splat, that would probably do it? No. I think what they should do is they should take these little placards that they have here. It has the image of the guy in the pants and the woman in the dress.
You have a quote unquote male form or a female form. It usually has like a dress.
Well, they could choose the male form if they wish, or the female form if they wish. What I would do is take the male form, put the female's head on it, and either have a bulge in the pants or boobs. And just put it all in one picture. Okay, we just have a head of a woman, the body of the man, with an erection and breasts, all symbolized in this silhouette. And we'll have it covered. We'll just call it genderqueers, and so everybody knows that when you see a genderqueer restroom, that means anybody can use it for any reason that they determine.
Wow,
Better yet,
insane, John, that's something else. I just want people to know that the Washington Free Beacon said that the change that we're talking about for this gender thing in our labor laws, this change would require job centers to spend $4 million updating their posters and equal opportunity notices alone, something the department referred to as an important benefit to society.
Right. Well, here's the thing. I would offer this. If you're still suffering from gender identity, you can just piss in the street.
Well, in New York you can't, but you might get fined. And then you could say, hey, you're discriminating against me because the system's over.
Hey, better yet, why don't we do this? Why don't we close all public restrooms and not spend the money on that? And everybody can piss in the street.
That's really awesome, John. That's really great. That's what we should teach our kids.
If we're going to do this, let's do it. If we're gonna play this game, let's just throw all rules out the window. Let's just all urinate in the street.
Well, if you're on the bus, taking a bus ride, I guess if you feel the need, just whip it out and go for it. You too, ladies.
Yeah. We won't have to worry about labeling bathrooms.
Exit, that way everybody can get out the other door, unless there's an emergency.
Yeah, we won't have to worry about that. Hey, and let's do away with showers in the schools. Let's just run a hose off the faucet and have everybody stand outside and squirt them.
Because it might get the ground and get it wet, and then you'd be watering the ground.
Yeah, you'd kill two birds with one stone.
You'll
be using recycled water.
It's against the law.
Yeah, you'll be using recycled water to water the lawn. Boy, that's environmentally friendly. Why not?
I don't know.
Anyway, we got to go to break. When we come back, we're going to get into something serious. I know we're having fun with this. I wanted to have fun with this because it's so totally stupid. What else can you do?
But it's necessary.
All right, so we're going to take a break here, give everyone a chance to go out and urinate in their lawn while we're gone. We'll be right back. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification require cancellation fee, auto pay, and paperless billing, and other restrictions apply. If you can't see the difference, why pay the difference? Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Only Dish brings you the best in entertainment for less than $20 a month. Cut the cable and don't get directed. Switch to Dish because at just $19.99, Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. It's so simple. The same channels cost less with Dish. So since you can't see the the difference. Don't pay the difference. Switch to Dish for the best deal in entertainment. Get premium movie channels free for 3 months, starting at just $19.99. Dish saves you every time you turn on the TV. Call now to save with Dish. Dial 1-800-600-1645. That's 1-800-600-1645. The same channels for less than $20 a month. Dish. Call 1-800-600-1645 for details.
Attention taxpayers! If you've received a notice from the IRS or state, do not ignore it. It's also a big mistake to try and handle your tax problem on your own. If you owe back taxes, it's a fact that the government has the power to take everything you own, including your home, business, wages, savings, and your freedom. But here's the good news. There's a special toll-free tax hotline set up especially for you. This tax hotline will tell you about new programs that are geared to help you dramatically settle, reduce, or eliminate what you owe. But you have to call now. Take down this number or put it in your cell phone. But call 866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959. When you call, you get free information on how you can reduce or eliminate back taxes, including penalties and interest. You can also be helped if you have unfiled returns, a tax lien, wage garnishment, bank levy, or if you have been entered into a payment plan but can't make the payments. Don't make the big mistake in thinking you can ignore or handle your tax problem on your own. You can stop the collection process immediately. Call this special tax hotline today for free info at 1-866-761-0959. That's 1-866-761-0959. 1-866-761-0959.
Read something recently worth thinking about. It's the soldier, not the campus organizer, who's given us freedom to demonstrate. It's the soldier, not the reporter, who's given us freedom of the press. It's the soldier, not the poet, who's given us freedom of speech. It's the soldier who serves under the flag, who defends the protesters' right to burn the flag. Isn't it time now to demonstrate that we support our troops? Were it not for the brave, there'd be no land of the free.
Fred Thompson's message was brought to you by CitizensUnited.org.
Conservative Syndicate, real conservative talk from real conservatives, although everything we've been talking about up to this point really hasn't had a whole heck of a lot to do with conservatism. But some days I just like to have fun.
We've been making fun of our progressive leftists and their idiocy. That's true.
Yeah. So, we got a suggestion from Roy out there from Canada that maybe the placard that we were talking about for the restrooms should have Michelle Obama's body with Barack Obama's head.
Yeah, I was thinking that too a little bit, and I didn't really want to go there because it scares me.
But the others say if we did that, then we'd be called racist.
Well, I wouldn't be able to sleep tonight. I'd be afraid. I'd have nightmares.
Yeah, well, I can see the placard there with the bookcase butt and the whatever.
I would just say, John, it would scare the crap out of you before you got in there.
Gives a whole new meaning to the expression, scare the piss out of you. Anyway, let's get on to something a little bit more decent.
Yes.
Not decent, but a little more to the point of what we do on this show. Planned Parenthood. There's the latest here. Again, we've been talking about the idiocy of the left all this show, almost all of it, and not being as veiled about it as we normally are by trying to point out the good things that conservatism brings. So we try to balance it, show you the idiocy, and then show you the reason. Not been the case today, and probably won't be for the rest of the day, because everything that's happening right now is just the idiocy of progressive in overdrive. The progressives have just kicked into overdrive with the immaculation of Barack Obama in office, and they've just been building up the momentum, getting those Alinsky tactics out there, getting them greased up, oiled up, and just doing everything they can. And this latest report now, if you don't know what's going on here, the Planned Parenthood was cleared by a Texas grand jury over the videos that were released. 16 hours, I believe, of raw footage, last count I saw, and it was broken down into, I think, 10 to 11 videos by the people that had done it, and David Daleiden and Sandra Merritt went out on these sting operations, went into the Planned Parenthood centers, and basically negotiated for baby parts, got it all on film, and it was released, and just sent just a major earthquake in terms of the anti-abortion movement and the abortion movement. And, they've both are geared up with their lawyers and are going after each other and everything else. So apparently, in conjunction with this, Governor Abbott down in Texas started an investigation. And in the process of that, the district attorney in Texas started a grand jury investigation. Now, before we even get into the details of this, one of the things that has surfaced out of this immediately came to my mind is the concept of a grand jury. Not something I'd been paying a whole lot of attention to, but now I have a lot of curiosity about this in terms of the fact that it seems like most grand juries are formed in secret. And I don't even know if they reveal who's on the grand jury. Do you have any idea about that, Joe?
Yeah, that's the idea. Most of them, you're not going to know who's on the grand jury. They're just convened, and that's that. Most times you don't know who's on the grand jury. They keep it that way. That way, there's no intimidation and that sort of thing.
Yeah, but I mean, who do they choose from a jury pool like they would a normal jury?
I think they choose from. That's a good question. I think it's going to differ from place to place, though.
That's something I've got to look up. As I got through as much of it as I could today.
I have to find a lawyer friend of ours to do that. Let's see. Well, Chris Ann won't be on for another for a couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I might have to ask another friend. I have to find out about that.
Yeah, as I was compiling the notes today for this, I thought, the fact that several of the articles that I was looking at made reference to the fact that the grand jury process is being corrupted because it's being kept secret. And so the public is not aware of what the grand jury is actually doing, where they're getting their evidence or what evidence they're not getting. They were citing a case down in Kansas where they're actually changing the laws now as to how the grand juries are conducted because they found so much tampering and so much corruption amongst the grand juries that they decided, we got to do something to fix this. And so I started thinking, well, what are the grand juries? Are this like a bunch of old farts who sit around in a room and make decisions, vigilantes, or are they progressive operatives, or who are these people? Are they other attorneys? Where do they come from? And I didn't get that far in my research, but it's a question that we need to answer here.
Well, maybe I can find a lawyer friend to come on and share that. Maybe be able to share that with us.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be great.
But being a lawyer, he might charge us.
Yeah, this brings up a good point. There are so many things in our system, our justice system, and our political process that we have over the decades, centuries now, but especially the last 6-7 decades, where we have just taken things for granted. That when we say, okay, grand jury, the image in your mind is a nonpartisan group of people who look at the evidence as a judge would, and you're not talking about your average ordinary jury per se. And I guess the idea of a grand jury is to decide whether charges need to be filed from other than a judge or an attorney general levering charges. Okay,
the grand jury would recommend that this should be allowed to proceed or not to proceed.
Right, and the normal process is that when we say charges are going to be levied against somebody for something. Okay, so what they say is a district attorney decides whether they're going to press charges against somebody who has committed a crime or is alleged to have committed a crime. And so the attorney looks at the evidence and says, yeah, we have enough here that we can charge this person with this crime or crimes, and we're going to take it forth and introduce it into the criminal court system.
Well, that's what's happened here.
Yeah, but here it's a grand jury.
So the district attorney's office actually did this, though.
Okay, but it was conducted by a grand jury. So what is that grand jury made up of? That's my question.
Yeah, exactly. But, this is Harris County District Attorney's Office doing this, and they were... I think this District Attorney's Office has some issues, politically motivated issues, taking these...
I want to get into that, but what I'm offering here first is just an understanding of why this was conducted by a grand jury versus the district attorney herself doing it or a judge doing it.
Keep it secret, John.
Huh?
I think keep it secret. Keep it out of the public purview until the district attorney filed charges.
Yeah. Well, we know that a grand jury, the intent of the grand jury is to determine whether charges can be filed. I go back and I say this. When you are dealing with the criminal element, Joe Schmo robs a bank and is arrested for it. The district attorney decides, based on the evidence presented, whether or not Joe Schmo is going to be charged with the crime of robbing a bank. In this case, the district attorney received evidence or was asked to investigate whether charges were warranted to charge against Planned Parenthood for harvesting baby parts against the law. And instead of the district attorney making a determination, there was a grand jury convened. And I'm wondering why a grand jury would be convened for something like that and not for everything.
I don't know.
So that's a question. We're throwing this out here because we're going to find out. I don't know either. We're going to find out. So, but the point being is that the way it's being reported is that whoever was on the grand jury, those names are not being revealed.
And they normally aren't.
Yeah, so therefore that's why there's all this stuff going on out there right now. Was this tainted? Was this subjected to political operatives? Was this favoritism? What's going on out there? Because instead of indicting or determining whether Planned Parenthood committed any crime, they actually charged the people who produced the evidence with crimes, rather than determining whether Planned Parenthood was made. If there was enough evidence to charge Planned Parenthood one way or the other, what they said was the people that gathered the evidence did it illegally. Therefore, Planned Parenthood was exonerated, and the people that provided the evidence are now being charged.
Okay, so I want you to understand where this is at. This is in Harris County, Texas,
right,
which is basically the city of Houston. So remember that the mayor of Houston wanted church sermons all cleared through the mayor's office, if you remember that back a little while ago. I can understand why people would say, is there a little bit of public political pressure being put on?
Right.
Just politically motivated.
Right. And we're gonna talk about that. We're gonna go to a break right now because, as I said earlier in the week, our Moments of Madness is a little bit long this time around. Excuse me. So I got to give it a couple extra minutes. But when we come back, we're going to talk about the Harris County District Attorney, the office down there, and all the charges now are being leveled against Harris County District Attorney Judge. What's her name here? Geez, I had her name here in front of me here. Who is that?
Well, we'll just get after the break.
Yeah, Devon Anderson is the name of the judge that passed this ruling down after a grand jury determined that Planned Parenthood didn't do anything wrong because, in essence, the evidence was gathered illegally because it was falsified documents used to get into the organization. That's the justification. The people entered under false pretense, even though they gathered information. It's irrelevant because they did it illegally. That's the way it's being played here. So when we get back, we'll clear that up for you. I got something stuck in my throat here. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. Don't go away. Right now it's time for Moments of Madness. Today on Moments of Madness. As we approach the first primary caucuses in February, the current populist tsunami that has given rise and sustenance to the campaigns of potential presidential candidates Donald Trump and Bernie Sanders in this year's general election cycle has the entire political establishment on both sides of Washington, D.C. recklessly panicking to recapture the narrative they've effectively employed in the siege of the American electorate that began in earnest with FDR. It is now more than mere speculation that the populist movement that birthed the Tea Party, and not the partisan ideologies that have determined the outcomes of election cycles past, just might light the fuse that propels Trump and Sanders into the June runoff that will most certainly determine the direction of our nation for decades, perhaps even determine the path of America's ultimate destiny in regard to its survival as a republic, or relegate us to a symbolic placard at the table of European socialist New World Order. So rattled are the GOP elites and their minions, they have abandoned any past attempts to at least appear civil, plotting instead in an unholy alliance with the media by concocting gotcha moments that turn minor gaffes or circumstances of decades past into a mountain of sin that portrays their opponents as villains while they pretend to chart the high moral ground. Jeb Bush claims to be so taken back by the intensity of the anger of the voters, he is peppering his attacks against Donald Trump, Ted Cruz, and even Marco Rubio by trotting out his family like Ward, June, and Wally Cleaver to assure us the beef is actually a good kid. It's that Eddie Haskell character, also known as Donald Trump, that is up to mischief. Blowhard Lindsey Graham, the GOP's bottom-dwelling asterisk candidate, provides perhaps the best reason for adopting Obama's gun safety measures by floating the analogy electing Donald Trump or Ted Cruz is the equivalent of putting a gun to our head. Even conservative banner bearers like Jonah Goldberg at National Review and Thomas Sowell at Town Hall Daily, along with a list of other supposed conservative thinkers, have joined the anti-Trump mantra, agreeing that to elect the likes of Donald Trump and even in some cases Ted Cruz is to kill conservatism as it exists today. Here's the madness. Whereas the Democrat Party's resistance to Sanders is merely show, they will embrace Sanders if they have to. The GOP actually has it right about Trump. Though Trump accurately articulates the tone and frustration of a disenfranchised electorate that resides in both the left and right, the fact he is saying the right thing does not mean he has the right solutions, nor does it mean he means what he says. If we've learned anything from the near 8 years Obama and his alliance with the GOP have conspired to destroy our government, it is politicians say in front of the cameras what we want to hear and do what they want with their pens and phones. It is, however, that acknowledgement that exposes the problem. It's not that the GOP elites have it wrong about Trump. It's that they either haven't figured out or are unwilling to do the right thing the right way to stop him, in the same way they've refused to stop Obama. By that I mean, if they're so concerned about preserving the conservative brand, why not support the conservatives running? There are a few running, you know. It's understandable why Barbara Bush supports her son. But what credibility does she, her husband, or sons have when she contends things like those displaced by Hurricane Katrina actually benefited from it by getting better housing from government, housing that was paid for on the taxpayer dime? Would not of conservatives suggesting relaxing government regulations and reducing taxes better serve those communities to rebuild on their own? Would not that stance better articulate conservatism? Why didn't her son George do that instead of further enslaving them to government? And who better to respond to another situation like that than someone like Ted Cruz, Rick Santorum, or Mike Huckabee? Lindsey Graham, of course, is his own brand of stupid. But rather than respond in bitterness to an electorate that recognizes he is as irrelevant as he is stupid, why not articulate the message conservatism does not compromise its values in order to gain popularity, but rather stands firm on the premise American exceptionalism is a result of equal opportunity offered and achieved in a civil society through personal responsibility and accountability in spite of obstacles like racism and poverty. Could not Cruz, Santorum, or Huckabee better articulate this message? How about Jonah Goldberg at National Review? Jonah is the Republican token symbol for the GOP, assigned to solicit the Jewish community who presently by and large support leftists at the polls who actually hate Israel in exchange for being left off the left's redistribution rolls. Isn't hatred for Israel representative of Obama's current foreign policy? Why not tout the conservatism of Ted Cruz, Rick Santorum, or Mike Huckabee, all of whom highly respect Benjamin Netanyahu, rather than discount him as a source of the problem in the Middle East? When you consider polls such as Reuters that indicate a vast number of folks who have never voted are saying they will vote for this time for Trump, or those who are returning to the voting booth after a 10-year or more absence because they believe Trump gets them, or the many Democrats who are registering Republicans so they can vote for Trump, that in and of itself explains his popularity. It's not his ideology, it's his voice. Ideology means very little if you believe it is irrelevant in shaping policy. We have very much returned to almost an infant state as a republic, where representation translates to listen to what we are saying more than this is how we want it done or we will revolt. We don't need to pander to demographics created by government for government. We just need one that represents the values of our republic and governs accordingly. Then again, perhaps this is the very problem that faces the GOP and thus their vitriol-fueled allegiance against the populism of Trump. Perhaps it is really their fear of being exposed as non-conservatives should they be forced to govern under the tenure of a true conservative like Ted Cruz. The likes of Mitch McConnell, John McCain, and Lindsey Graham could no longer hide behind their show votes. They would stand exposed in the public square before being exiled to wherever pretenders end up wandering, like Maven R. Johnson with his thermos and velvet-covered chair. Now that's a thought that should motivate any real American to want to vote. This is John Matthews for Moments of Madness. Welcome back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. I'm your host, John Matthews, along with Joe Hakos. And we took the time during the break here to try to at least give enough information here to the question we were asking so that we don't sound like blithering idiots, like maybe somebody from the left. And I looked it up here. I want to share just briefly with you here what I found. I'll let Joe interject his comments here. We're talking about the grand jury hearing that came down from the Harris County District Attorney's Office down in Texas that exonerated, as far as they're concerned, the Planned Parenthood videos, or the accusation that Planned Parenthood is selling baby organs, in some cases totally intact babies, meaning one of the things that we're finding out here is some of these videos show fully formed children being born and then killed after birth, which is a violation of law. Outside of harvesting for profit, to an aborted child that does not die from the abortion is supposed to be kept alive. And so what the videos were showing is that there are instances where the child is actually brought to full birth, labor is induced, the child is born, and then the child is killed for the purpose of being able to deliver an intact infant for the purpose of organ harvesting. And that's what these videos show, amongst other things. Okay, and that's why Planned Parenthood has gone into overdrive, trying to discredit any knowledge or any reality to what the charges are. So in the county court down there in Harris County, what they've done is they've basically have said, because the people who took the videos violated the law by using fraudulent driver's licenses.
Here, John, let me go ahead and just read what they...
Go ahead.
The felony charge is tampering with a governmental record.
Right.
The duly organized grand jury, Harris County, Texas presents in District Court of Harris County that in Harris County, Texas, David Robert Delidian, hereafter styled the defendant, heretofore on or about April 9, 2015, did then and there unlawfully with knowledge of its falsity make, present, and use a government record attached hereto as Exhibit A, namely license to wit, California driver's license, with the intent to defraud and harm another.
Now, the reason these two people use these driver's licenses is because Planned Parenthood has a list of anti-abortion activists. And so they did not want to be detected. They thought we might be on that list. So they used manufactured California driver's licenses to gain access to the Planned Parenthood facilities. And so what the Harris County District Attorney has said is, at this point, whether Planned Parenthood committed a crime or not is irrelevant, because you broke the law trying to obtain the information.
Oh, it's better than that, John. They've also been done saying these people herefore to or on or about June 30th did then there unlawfully, intentionally, and knowingly offer to buy human organs, namely fetal tissue, for valuable consideration. So they're going after the people that filmed it, saying that they were trying to actually buy this stuff.
Right. So in legal jargon, what you would say is they were trying to entrap the Planned Parenthood people.
This is all bogus, saying that they can't use a driver's license like that, because that is crap. I can guarantee you that is crap, because there are situations where even in for housing discrimination, where you have a black couple go into an apartment and or a house or wherever to rent or buy a house, and they film it, and they have no intention of buying this house or anything, and they use false identities, and they go in and they get videotape, etc., and they show hey, these people are discrimination against them in housing just because of their race. So this is just bogus stuff. This is all politically motivated right here.
Yeah, it is, but before we get too deep into that, I want to clear up this thing about the grand jury, because what I found on this just during the break here even points more towards the allegation that there was something going on internally within the Attorney General's office or the District Attorney's office there in Texas. I pulled this off of the NOLO site. And I just asked the question, why do prosecutors choose grand juries instead of preliminary hearings? Why doesn't the accused stand before a judge, and the judge receives the evidence and makes the determination whether charges will be filed, or the district attorney office itself will file the charges? Look at the evidence. It says here, unlike a preliminary hearing held in court with the defense side present, that means that you go into a courtroom and the prosecutor stands up there in front of the judge and says, this is the evidence I have, and the defense is allowed to say that evidence isn't good, or this is the evidence I have that my client's guilty. The judge then makes a determination as to whether or not there is enough evidence to justify the filing of charges, which if there is, the prosecutor then files those charges, okay? It says here, unlike a preliminary hearing held in court with the defense side present, the grand jury does not make its decision in the context of an adversary proceeding, meaning that there is no defense representation in this type of hearing, okay? Grand jurors hear only what the prosecutors put before them. Now, listen to this. They do this in part because no one on the other side can contest the prosecutor's evidence. So grand juries almost always return an indictment as requested by the prosecutor. So what we have here is the prosecutor going before the grand jury to present evidence, and for the purpose, the intent behind doing this is to get the grand jury to rubber stamp the charges, saying, well, we don't have the other side yet, but we see evidence here that there may be a crime committed. And so now the Attorney General can go ahead and press charges. Defense lines up their side, and the prosecutors line up their side, and they go to court with it. So the intent and desire of a grand jury is to alleviate the defense making any defense. And so that works in the favor of the prosecutor. Here we've got prosecutors going before the grand jury to not prove the accused, but to go after the accuser. So in essence, the prosecutor was playing the defense attorney rather than the prosecutor. The prosecutor is staying on his side of the aisle. See, that's what. If this was in a regular court of law, the prosecutor. We're representing Planned Parenthood. They've been charged with selling baby parts. The defense would say, well, you know what? Planned Parenthood would be the defendant, and the prosecutor would be the center that made these videos. And they would say, we're accusing Planned Parenthood. The defense attorney would say, well, you can't bring charges against them because they were entrapped. You used fraudulent documentation to gain access. And that's going to be our argument, our defense argument. You broke the law to obtain this. Here you've got the prosecutor going in and making a defense for Planned Parenthood instead of acting as the prosecutor of Planned Parenthood. And then turning around and be acting as a prosecutor to accuse the the plaintiffs of crime.
Yeah, accuse them of trying to buy body parts, but when you look at the videos, the people making that assertion, the only ones haggling about it are the Planned Parenthood people, not the people taking the video who are now being charged with trying to buy body parts.
Well, so the grand jury was being used to completely counter what grand juries are normally convened for. They're normally convened to get a rubber stamp for allowing the district attorney or the attorney that's handling the case, the prosecutor, to go forward with charges. The charges were made against Planned Parenthood. The prosecutor didn't go in there to justify the charges against Planned Parenthood. They went in to exonerate Planned Parenthood and filed charges against the accuser. The complete backwards use of the system. The grand jury is supposed to be convened to keep the defense out. The prosecutor went in there acting as a defense attorney for Planned Parenthood. That's in essence what happened here. And that's why it's being called into question. The procedure that was being used by the district attorney down at Harris County was to keep it out of the public eye, to be able to maneuver whatever they wanted to maneuver to keep Planned Parenthood from taking the rap. And so it was a complete, and it looks like on the surface here, complete abuse of the system created for one thing and being used for exactly the opposite.
Yeah.
Am I reading that right, Joe?
Yeah, exactly. Here, this is from the Heritage Foundation. Crucially, the Texas statute also has a clear intent standard. A violation requires a grand jury to find that the Center for Medical Products made its offer to buy knowingly and intentionally. Given that the grand jury knew that all these videos were part of an undercover sting operation intended solely to show that Planned Parenthood, what Planned Parenthood was doing, that the Center for Medical Progress was not actually in business of purchasing organs like the ones Planned Parenthood and other partners, STEM Express for one, and that it was a fake offer, how could the grand jury possibly conclude that the intent standard was met? It's highly likely that no reasonable jury would ever convict under these admittedly unusual factual circumstances. And so basically what they're saying is, really, these people knew this, so why would they go ahead and actually indict these people when they knew it was an undercover operation?
Right.
Saying that they're going to be, they actually tried to buy fetal tissue from babies is beyond the pale. There's one thing to try to get them on false documentation or those charges, but this here is just. Oh my goodness!
This is a pure manipulation of the system. We're going to, when we come back from our break here, we're going to explain to you some of the charges that are being levied now, allegations at least at this point, being levied against the district attorney down there in Harris County in Texas. It's not a pretty picture. Stay with us right here at the Conservative Syndicate. We'll be right back.
You can catch all our archives at theconservativesyndicate.net. The Conservative Syndicate. Real conservative talk from real conservatives.
Prices are for base buildings only. May not be available in some areas. Attention business owners, do you want a stimulus package that really works? Before you spend thousands of dollars more than you should on your next building project, listen to this. General Steel has a stimulus package designed to help you save as much as half the cost of conventional construction on your next building. As much as half. That's right. General Steel can save you thousands of dollars with a pre-engineered steel building designed for your business or church. How about a 50 by 100 foot building for under $30,000? So don't pay thousands more than you should without calling General Steel first and save as much as half the cost and time of conventional construction. With the projected demand for steel in Japan and China, prices may be skyrocketing.
877-927-3360. 877-927-3360. 877-927-3360.
Hey folks, if you're like me, you don't place a whole lot of trust in today's media for the real truth and facts regarding the volatile world of finance and politics. When I want the real scoop on money, I go to the most trusted source I know, my good friend and colleague, Bob Cardoso. Bob is a noted expert with a PhD in international finance who airs his nationally known, globally syndicated show, Robert Cardoso Live, daily. Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. With Bob, you'll get the right information at the right time from someone who knows his business and can help you make the right decision concerning yours. Again, Bob airs daily, Monday through Friday from 4 to 6 p.m. Pacific Time. Visit his website at robertcardosalive.com for information regarding stations and topics. That's robertcardosalive.com. Check Bob out. You'll be glad you did. Welcome back. You're listening to the Conservative Syndicate, Real Conservative Talk from Real Conservatives. We want to remind you, you can pick up the archive of this show, any of our shows. Go to our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. You might also do that tonight, especially because of the fact that we had that technical problem earlier. We lost about 20 minutes of the show. So I'm going to be uploading the entire show because we run a master file on our end. So we have the whole show, even if it wasn't being aired. So we can just drop it on there and you can catch up with us. Go to our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. Okay, we're talking about this situation here with Planned Parenthood. And the thing that surfaced as I was going through my review of the information that's out there right now was that I was perplexed as to why there was not a preliminary hearing versus a grand jury. And it seemed like on the surface what bothered me was the fact that grand juries are basically conducted in secret. Yeah, and so I thought, okay, well, that right there is a red flag, so we needed to find out what that means. What it means is that grand juries convene when there is evidence to be presented by the prosecutor without the defense. There's no defense being made on the other side. In a preliminary hearing, you have prosecution and defense, a plaintiff and a defendant. Here in a grand jury, it is a prosecutor who is going after a plaintiff. But what they did here was they used a grand jury to exonerate the plaintiff and go after the exonerate the plaintiff and go after the accuser. And so that paints a kind of a shady picture here.
It's even more shadier than that, John.
Yeah. Well, it does not look above board. It does not look copacetic.
Tell them why, John. Tell us why.
Well, it's because, one, you're using the system for something it wasn't created for.
Yeah, it's better than that, though. What about the DA's office? You know where I'm going here.
I'm sorry?
You know where I'm going here, the DA's office itself.
Oh, yeah. Well, we go to the DA's office, and that's the first thing I did. I spent my day researching today the district attorney's office down in Harris County. We find that it is run by a lady named Devon Anderson. Now, when I first looked her name up here, Rick Perry is the one that Governor Rick Perry appointed her to replace her husband, who was the district attorney, and he died. And so Perry replaced her. So when I first saw that, I said, well, geez, that's kind of interesting that you got a Republican governor who appointed her. But I want to bring something else about this woman. She has in her staff an activist, a board member of Planned Parenthood working for her. Loren Reeder is a prosecutor in the Harris County District Attorney's Family Law Division, okay? She's listed as the non-compensated director on the 990 tax form filed by Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast, which is the organization that has been charged is being investigated, Planned Parenthood Gulf Coast. And this woman, Loren Reeder, a prosecutor under the district attorney, Devon Anderson, and she is a board member of Planned Parenthood.
So do you think there might be a conflict of interest in the DA's office out of Houston in Harris County?
Might be. The other thing is here, Devon Anderson also oversaw a previous abortion-related grand jury investigation of Houston abortionist Douglas Carpin, who has been nicknamed the Kermit Gosnell of Houston. You remember who Kermit Gosnell was?
He was Gosnell in Philadelphia.
Yeah, he was the abortion guy in Philadelphia. Was killing and he's been indicted and convicted of killing babies after they were born. So she headed up Devon Anderson, the district attorney of the Harris County District Attorney's Office, oversaw the grand jury investigation of Douglas Carpin, and he was exonerated. So you think that maybe there's a little bit of a leaning here towards pro-abortion activism?
Oh, quite possibly. I mean, there are still investigations underway about Planned Parenthood out of this organization by other Texas state agencies. I like what Jay Sekulow said about this. We know about Jay Sekulow. He's the chief counsel of the AC. Oh, hold on.
ACLJ, the American Center for Law and Justice.
Yeah, there you go. American Center for Law and Justice. I love what he had to say. He said basically when you consider the fact that one of the prosecutors in the Harris County District Attorney's Office is deeply involved with Planned Parenthood, serving as a board member for the local Planned Parenthood affiliate in Texas where the undercover investigation took place, along with the fact that she had served as an active fundraiser for Planned Parenthood for years, you would have to ask the question, is this probe tainted? Was there a conflict of interest that produced a biased result?
Yeah.
Very good questions, obvious questions to be asked. And probably the answer to both are yes, it is tainted.
Yeah, it has to be. It has to be. I could see this. I could see the district attorney's office saying, and using the argument, because these people used fraudulent documents to attain, to gain access to Planned Parenthood, we find no findings at all.
Oh, yeah, I get that.
We're not going to go one way or the other because the information or the videos, as far as we're concerned, were taken illegally because there was fraudulent documents used to gain access to the center. And so,
saying this is, I didn't do anything because the Republicans are right wing conspiracists, and that's why this is bogus. It's the same attitude.
Yeah, but to come out, you know what it reminded me of? It reminded me of the movie. You ever see the movie Mystery Alaska?
Yes.
Okay, you remember the scene in there where the guy from PriceSmart comes up to Mystery Alaska and walks into the local general store there and asks questions about the community. They're trying to figure out whether or not PriceSmart wants to build a PriceSmart in Mystery Alaska.
Yes.
And the guy ends up getting shot accidentally because the Connor, the star of the hockey team up there, wants to scare him, and he grabs a gun and he shoots it in the air, but it hits a shovel, ricochets, and hits this guy. And so the guy files charges against him for assault. Okay?
Yes.
And you remember the jury, how they handed down their verdict? Everybody knew that the jury was going to find the guy innocent because he was the star hockey player. Okay? We all knew that. Everybody knew that. And Burt Reynolds is the judge, and he's a hardcore judge. He plays by the rules. And he briefed everybody ahead of time. I don't want to hear nothing about this hockey game mentioned in the courtroom. This is about firing a gun, assaulting another individual, and that's what everything is going to be based on. So he's lectured the court, he's lectured the attorney, everything else. I don't want to hear this. Well, what's the first thing the defense attorney does? He brings up the hockey game. You know, things are kind of up in the air right now because we got this big hockey game coming up, right? The judge admonishes him and says, I told you I don't want that here in my court. The attorney looks at him and goes, well, excuse me, Judge, I'm fat. You know, he laughs it off. Anyways, the jury comes back with a verdict. And the verdict is, of course, that Connor, the star hockey player, is found innocent. Okay? So you think, okay, we know that was going to be the outcome anyways. But then the jury foreman stands up and says, and in addition to that, we've decided that PriceSmart owes us $42,000 in damages. And the judge looks at him and says, you can't do that. The judgment is vacated. The verdict is vacated. You can't add to the charges. You can't just come up with your own thing here as to what we're doing, what you're going to do. You're going to find PriceSmart guilty of something that they didn't do. Okay? That's what it reminded me of. That scene popped in my head. I'm sitting there, okay. I could understand him coming out and say, because of the way the evidence was garnered, we find it irrelevant. And therefore, we're not going to do anything. We're not going to exonerate Planned Parenthood, and we're not going to look at the evidence offered by the accusers. But to come out and exonerate the defendant and base it on the fact that there was fraudulent documentation used to access Planned Parenthood, and then charge the accuser with a crime, rather than just walking away, throwing your hands and walking away, say, no, we can't do anything. We can't do this because the circumstances dictate. We can't make a impartial decision.
Yeah, well, this is not going to go away because the state attorney general in Texas, Ken Paxton, said the fact that remains that the videos expose the horrific nature of the abortion and shameful disregard for human life of the abortion industry. So this is not going to go away. So they might have gotten out of the little pickle here, but I got a feeling they're going to find out that they're going to have. This is not over.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, we're done. We're done for the day. We ran over time here. I'm looking at the clock here.
Oh my.
And we're gonna pick this up again tomorrow because there's other aspects of this you need to know about. This is just the tip of the iceberg, what we're talking about right now. There's a lot of things underlying this right here. And we're going to talk about it again tomorrow. So God bless you all. Visit our website, theconservativesyndicate.net. We love you. God bless you.
Thanks for tuning in to this edition of The Conservative Syndicate, the globally syndicated, politically incorrect talk show that seeks to tear down the imaginary wall of separation between church and state. We want to make you aware you can find and access all of our show archives at our website, theconservativesyndicate.net, as well as our broadcast stations and times. That's the conservativesyndicate.net. We so appreciate you taking time to tune in, and we so look forward to continuing to bring you the best and uncompromised talk radio available on the net today. And remember, folks, it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down in life. It only matters how many times you get up. I'm John Matthews, signing off until next time, right here on the Conservative Syndicate. God bless you, and may God continue to bless America.